The Oversight Board was able to achieve significant progress in the first 2 months of 2025. We engaged with the new administration of Governor Jennifer Gonzalez Colon to begin what I hope will be a productive cooperation on several key priorities to move Puerto Rico and its economy forward. My own conversations with the governor and her team gives me confidence that our goals are aligned. Those goals are to establish permanent and robust financial management practices so that the Oversight Board can restore fiscal responsibility and terminate as foreseen under Promesa. Together, we should reform Puerto Rico's financial management practices and systems. These reformed practices will improve the education system by improving transparency around the allocation of funding and better align Puerto Rico's limited resources to improve Puerto Rico's healthcare system. We are adopting a systematic approach to assess initiatives to improve the healthcare delivery system here in Puerto Rico. The information that you'll hear today will inform how budgeted resources are allocated using data and facts. Education and healthcare affect every family in Puerto Rico every day and impact migration and economic growth. In the area of education, as we are developing the budget for next year, we need to ensure that funding gets to the classroom and plans are implemented now to reflect the end of non-recurring federal funding. Multi-year budget planning is critical to ensure that we are prepared to meet the needs of Puerto Rico, not just this year, but in the coming years as well. We need to make sure we find the right solution with the right balance and find them soon to improve the quality of life in Puerto Rico and also to improve Puerto Rico's economic future. We will work together to continue the successful reform and improve the delivery of public services in Puerto Rico by building a more efficient civil service. We made significant progress last year in implementing civil service reform, particularly in the Department of Education. This reform is focused on improving the government's ability to retain professionals who can deliver services by improving the skills, the career opportunities, and the motivation of our civil service. We will improve government and the services our civil servants deliver to the people of Puerto Rico. Last week, we held a webinar with government officials and industry experts to discuss the ongoing progress with the civil service reform. The webinar focused on the results of the talent acquisition pilot that began last year, which involved 9 government agencies. The pilot is intended to assess new recruitment policies and the use of artificial intelligence for candidate screening and evaluation. The pilot had great results. It showed significant improvement on existing recruitment outcomes. Time to hire went from months to weeks, and hiring managers indicated that they were able to find and hire better talent at their agencies. The collaborative work between the Oversight Board and the government of Puerto Rico is showing results and was recently featured in a report from the National Governors Association, which identified Puerto Rico as a national leader in civil service practices. This is just one example of what we can achieve when we are working together. We also look forward to working with Governor Gonzalez Colon and her administration on economic growth initiatives to address Puerto Rico's most critical challenges through a coordinated integration of economic development efforts supported by the Oversight Board and our Economic Growth and Revitalization Coordinator, Jose Perez Riera, and the Secretary of the Department of Economic Development and Commerce and business and community stakeholders. The Oversight Board's team and I met earlier this month with a group of key members of the Governor's administration to kickstart these efforts, and I am certain that we can accomplish a lot together. Permitting and tax reforms are priorities that the Oversight Board shares with the government, and particularly on permit reform, we are already moving forward in this collaboration. Our goal is to work with the government to provide knowledge and resources to execute on all of these initiatives. On health, you will hear today about a workforce assessment that the Oversight Board, together with the Puerto Rico Department of Health and the FAF, asked the healthcare team of FTI Consulting to provide. FTI's report will help us understand the current state of Puerto Rico's healthcare workforce and through analysis and facts and data, compile recommendations about how to move forward. As part of the study, more than 700 healthcare professionals, including doctors, nurses, technicians, and others were contacted. We analyzed enrollment records, claim statistics, physician and emergency room visits, and other healthcare data. And we have asked the FTI team here today to present the study and the recommendations. We will then get together with the healthcare stakeholders and the government to decide what solutions we should pursue and implement together. The Oversight Board also worked with the government to allocate $89 million in additional funding for municipal governments in this year's budget. In this case, we worked together with the Office of Management and Budget, the Federation of Mayors, the Association of Mayors, and just to be clear, the Puerto Rico government supports the municipalities with almost $350 million this year. Of that $350 million, $89 million was added specifically to support targeted programs and municipalities most in need of additional funding. The social well-being program, Ama de Llaves, received $15 million of additional funding. The medical emergency services response program received $9 million, and $30 million was allocated to municipalities with the most need to support essential services. The Ama de Llaves program provides services by municipalities such as essential help with hygiene, home management, the administration of medications for older and disabled persons. The Medical Emergency Services program helps municipalities that participate in 911 emergency response services. And based on the applicable criteria and requirements, 38 municipalities qualified for additional medical emergency response program funding, and 51 municipalities met the requirements for additional Ama de Llaves program funding. We anticipate allocating the remaining $35 million to municipalities as part of the central government's efforts to improve collaboration on joint initiatives that impact the economy of Puerto Rico. The Oversight Board fully understands the challenges that the municipalities face in providing social well-being services for its residents and continues to support Puerto Rico's mayors and their staff to ensure that they can serve their residents well. This month, the Oversight Board members, also certified a new fiscal plan for PREPA. The new fiscal plan is an X-ray of a system that has been failing Puerto Rico's families and businesses for too long. Considering recent power outages, the Oversight Board and the Puerto Rico Energy Bureau and the government must be able to fully understand what is required to meet the needs of the system to deliver reliable power. That is why we asked the system operators, including PREPA, to help us see and analyze. PREPA operates an outdated system that's vulnerable to shock and unable to provide reliable electricity. This is the consequence of decades of neglect, deferred maintenance, missed system upgrades, lack of long-term planning, and interference by previous governments before PROMESA was enacted, and the Oversight Board, together with the administration of Governor Rosselló Nevares, introduced a more rational operating structure under the oversight of an Energy Bureau as a truly independent regulator. But these critical improvements in operating structure, increased efforts to upkeep and improve the system, and the addition of new resources of generation proved to be insufficient to even fully restore the system, much less provide sustained reliability. Recent reliability shows that the system is still underperforming when you compare it to other U.S. utilities. PREPA has not performed an evaluation of the long-term system needs in over 30 years. It has been operating under a structural financial deficit since 2004. And in its 2017 rate order, the predecessor to the Puerto Rico Energy Bureau, back in 2017, stated that PREPA's long-term planning was, in the past, distorted by political considerations, resulting in, I quote, operational instability, expensive changes in direction, and delays and stoppages of necessary infrastructure projects, end quote. The regulator stated back then that PREPA based its budget on a compromise, driven, and I quote again, not by system needs alone, end quote. The Oversight Board is determined to prevent the same mistake from happening again. The new fiscal plan is based on operators' expense projections to reflect the true needs of the energy system for adequate operation, maintenance, repair, and transformation of Puerto Rico's energy system. A coordinated, holistic financial plan is essential to prioritize and sequence investments for impactful transformation. We know that the governor is working tirelessly to find solutions to the energy crisis, and board staff has participated in the governor's Energy Transformation Task Force, and we look forward to continuing these efforts. The Oversight Board's goal is to successfully transform the energy system in Puerto Rico, ensuring reliable, affordable service for Puerto Rico while exiting the bankruptcy process under Title III of PROMESA and providing for the restoration of access to the capital markets. And I am convinced that the government shares this goal. Together, the government and the Oversight Board also began the process to develop the budget for next fiscal year 2026, which will begin on July 1, 2025. As we enter what we consider the final phases of PROMESA, the most critical work will be to improve the budget process and provide transparent financial plans, not just for the upcoming fiscal year, but at a minimum for the next 5 years. We will work with the government to achieve these goals. There are significant structural budget gaps in the years ahead that must be acknowledged and also planned for. The economy has slowed, as has the growth of the government's revenue from taxes. In addition, non-recurring federal funds will be exhausted. Long-term budget planning is critical to identify our out-year spending needs, and the government must adopt realistic revenue forecasts to prevent returning to the pre-PROMESA deficits. Prior to PROMESA, spending was higher than revenue for 16 consecutive years, according to the government's own audited financial statements. Puerto Rico has many spending needs, and we will work with Governor González Colón and her administration to establish the priorities while maintaining a fiscally responsible budget. Money from the federal government provides currently nearly half of the Commonwealth's overall budget. This includes the current Medicaid formula, which expires in 2 years. And as we move forward with this budget, we must balance the needs and the risks and solve for an out-year structural gaps. Having a budget management system that actually works is critical for achieving fiscal responsibility. This is not to check a box on the path to fulfill the mandate of PROMESA, but is critically important for Puerto Rico's future, its stability, and economic growth and quality of life. And then when we get to 4 years of balanced budgets, we can say what happened in 2016 will not happen again. The initial Commonwealth budget targets for the upcoming fiscal year did not envision any spending cuts. We established a budget target of $13.3 billion for the general fund and $5.1 billion for the special revenue fund that will support key government priorities and financial and fiscal plan initiatives. The general fund and the special revenue fund targets combined would increase spending by just under 3% in the next fiscal year from the current fiscal year certified budget. The government has provided further information to move the Commonwealth process forward, and the Oversight Board is in the process of reviewing this information.
Please.
We hope we can meet as early as this week to continue our cooperation. As every year, you, the board members, will certify a budget that complies with the fiscal plan on or before June 30th. Our goal is for Puerto Rico to have a budget that is balanced, responsible, and meets the needs of the people of Puerto Rico. I am sure here again, we are aligned with the government in our goals.